They expect you to react, to argue, to explain, to defend. But what if the most powerful response is silence? What if the best way to destroy flawed logic is to say nothing and let the other person unravel on their own? In today's world, everyone's trying to provoke you online, at work, even in your relationships. But those who win are not the loudest. They're the ones who stay calm, who hold their ground without flinching, because when you refuse to be provoked, you become unreadable and unstoppable. This video reveals 7 Stoic strategies that turn silence into power. You'll learn how to command respect, reclaim control, and dismantle manipulation without raising your voice. If you're done being emotionally hijacked and want to master real self-control, like and subscribe, because the most dangerous person in the room isn't the one yelling, it's the one who says nothing and still owns the moment.
Number 1.
They never taught you how to hold your ground. From childhood, many of us were conditioned to seek approval, to be polite, to avoid making others uncomfortable. We were praised for saying yes, for staying quiet, for not causing problems. But this programming comes at a cost. It teaches us to abandon ourselves whenever someone else raises their voice. It teaches us that strength looks like aggression and that silence means surrender. And yet, the Stoics would say the opposite. According to Epictetus, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In other words, being reactive is not a sign of strength. It's a sign you've already lost the battle. Within, true power begins the moment you no longer allow others to dictate your emotional state. Holding your ground doesn't mean you fight fire with fire. It means you don't light the match at all. Most people confuse reactivity with courage. But reactivity is just emotional slavery dressed up in bravado. To hold your ground is to remain centered when the storm tries to move you. And this isn't about being passive, it's about being principled. It's about training your nervous system to respond from clarity, not chaos. Most people were never taught how to do this. They were shown that to win a conversation, you had to interrupt faster, shout louder, or outwit the other. But winning like that means you've already lost yourself. The Stoics practiced another way, a quieter power, as Marcus Aurelius once wrote. Be like the cliff against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. This is the heart of Stoic self-command. You don't retaliate, you don't explain, you don't chase, you hold. Take Viktor Frankl, not a Stoic by name, but a Stoic in spirit, imprisoned in a concentration camp, stripped of everything. He discovered the last human freedom, to choose one's attitude in any circumstance. He didn't rage, he didn't collapse. He centered himself in a purpose deeper than pain, and by doing so, he held his ground in the most brutal conditions imaginable, not with violence, but with clarity. Now think about your own life. You're not in a camp, but you're surrounded by provocations. Comments designed to trigger you, people testing your limits, emotional bait hanging from every conversation, the urge to defend yourself, to correct, to explain. It's real, but that urge is exactly where your training begins. When you feel it, pause. When they expect a reaction, give them stillness. When they try to pull you out of character, let that be the moment you go deeper into yourself. In practice, this might look like letting someone rant while you listen without reacting. It might mean walking away without a word when someone tries to guilt trip you, or simply saying, "I hear you," and saying no more. You're not being dismissive, you're being deliberate. You are choosing to protect your peace over proving your point. And here's what happens next. When you stop feeding their drama, it collapses. When you hold your ground, their chaos has nothing to cling to. You become like a wall they can't climb. Not because you resist, but because you've withdrawn the hand that used to pull them up. This is not the kind of power that gets applause. It's quiet, it's invisible, but it's the kind that lasts, because the truth is, No one can knock you off center unless you've already abandoned it yourself. So hold your ground, not with force, but with presence. Because in the end, the one who remains calm remains in control.
Number 2.
The pause that shifts the power. In most conversations, the one who speaks fastest is often seen as dominant, but the Stoics taught something far deeper. True power is not found in how quickly you speak. It's found in your ability to pause, because silence, when used with intention, is not absence. It's presence, it's a disruption, it breaks the rhythm of the moment and forces the other person to adjust. When someone expects a quick reaction and gets stillness instead, their confidence wavers, their control slips, and in that quiet space, the dynamic begins to shift. The pause isn't hesitation, it's ownership. It means you refuse to be dragged by someone else's urgency. As Seneca warned, a man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary. And in conversation, reacting too quickly is exactly that. Unnecessary suffering. It places your inner state in the hands of someone else's tempo. But when you pause, when you take a breath, you reclaim your clarity. You become the axis instead of the spinning wheel. That pause is a mirror. It reflects not your uncertainty, but their instability. It reveals how much they depend on your reaction to feel in control. And when that reaction doesn't come, their tactics collapse. They begin to fumble, over-explain, or reveal agendas they meant to hide. Because silence, when wielded well, compels truth. The power of the pause is that it turns the invisible into the undeniable. It creates space, not just for you to think, but for the other person to reveal themselves. When people don't know what you're thinking, they begin to speak more than they intended. They try to fill the silence, and in doing so, they expose their assumptions, their fears, and sometimes their manipulations. That's why strategic silence is so unsettling. It shifts the emotional burden back onto the other person, and this isn't theory. It's something practiced by the emotionally intelligent across history. Steve Jobs was a master of the pause. In interviews and board meetings, he let silences stretch well beyond what most people could tolerate. He didn't rush to respond. He let others sit in discomfort, and in that stillness, they often revealed more than they meant to. That silence wasn't emptiness. It was psychological leverage. It demonstrated composure, patience, and above all, the refusal to be rushed. However, don't mistake this calm for passivity. Holding a pause takes discipline. It requires emotional muscle. It's easy to speak just to fill the space. It's harder to breathe, remain still, and let the silence work on your behalf. The Stoics understood this. Epictetus reminded his students that control begins not with what we do, but with what we allow to happen inside us. The pause then becomes a test, not of the other, but of ourselves. So what does this look like in daily life? When someone criticizes you, don't rush to defend. Pause. When someone asks you a loaded question, don't answer immediately. Pause. When someone tries to corner you into a decision, buy time. Say, let me think about that. These are small moves, but they signal a massive shift. That you are not here to dance for someone else's rhythm. You move on your own terms. And in doing so, you become unreadable. You stop being predictable. You remove the ability for others to control your mood with a word or a glance. Because if they can't rush you, they can't control you. The pause gives you time, and time gives you leverage. So next time you feel the urgency to speak, wait, sit with it. Let the silence breathe. Let others squirm if they must. Because sometimes the most devastating move, the one that flips the power dynamic, is the one you never say.
Number 3.
When stillness becomes strength. In a world addicted to noise, constant updates, viral debates, endless opinions shouted across platforms. Stillness is often misjudged. It's mistaken for weakness, for indecision, for lack of voice. But to the Stoics, stillness wasn't weakness. It was wisdom. It wasn't silence out of fear. It was silence out of power. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." In other words, real strength isn't loud. It's not in your volume. It's in your stillness. We live in an age where everyone is performing, posting, arguing, defending, constant movement. And yet the Stoic does something radical. He becomes still, not out of laziness, but out of clarity. Stillness becomes the filter. It sifts through the noise. It reveals what actually matters, and it exposes what's just distraction dressed up as urgency. Stillness doesn't mean absence. It means presence without performance. It's choosing to be intentional rather than impulsive. It's not that you don't care. It's that you've trained yourself to care wisely. You don't let the outside world hijack your emotional rhythm, because if they can dictate your pace, they can control your peace. And a man who is always reacting is always owned by something outside of him. Look at Leonardo da Vinci, not just an artist, but a Stoic in discipline. His mind was constantly active, yet his actions were precise, calculated, and deeply rooted in stillness. He would observe a shadow for hours before drawing a single line. That was his power. The world rushed. He watched. The world demanded. He refined. The man moved slow, but when he moved, he changed the world. Because stillness gave him depth, and depth creates impact. Stillness also grants you a kind of invisibility, the kind that unsettles manipulators. Because when you're still, they can't read you, they can't predict your next move, and people who rely on control panic when they lose visibility. When you're loud, they can categorize you, but when you're still, they're left guessing. And in that guessing, they lose power, because power belongs to the one who holds the frame, not the one who fills the air. But make no mistake, stillness is a muscle, and like any muscle, it's built through tension. You'll feel it when someone disrespects you and you resist the urge to respond. You'll feel it when you want to defend yourself. But instead, you sit back and watch. That discomfort, that's growth. That's the shedding of old conditioning. That's the art of becoming unshakable. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And stillness is how you reclaim that reaction. It's how you stop being a slave to every emotion, every insult, every surge of anger. It's not about bottling your feelings. It's about channeling them into discipline, not destruction. In daily life, stillness looks simple. It's taking 5 minutes before responding to a triggering message. It's sitting quietly with your thoughts instead of venting them out for validation. It's choosing not to react immediately, but to reflect, to question, to observe. And what you'll notice is this. When you stop performing, people start paying closer attention. You go from noise to presence, from reaction to resonance. So if you want to become powerful, not in appearance but in essence, cultivate stillness. Not as a tactic, but as a way of being. Let others perform, let others chase. You stay still, you stay centered. Because in the storm of modern chaos, the one who can stand silent is the one who commands everything.
Number 4.
Real control begins within. Most people think control means managing others, outsmarting them, convincing them, silencing them. But that's surface level. That's illusion. The Stoics knew better. They taught that real control begins not in the external world, but deep within. The moment you try to control someone else, you lose sight of your own mind. But when you master yourself, your emotions, your impulses, your attention, then no one owns you. As Epictetus declared, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This sounds noble in theory, but in practice it's the greatest challenge of all, because modern life is engineered to steal your attention and hijack your reactions. Everything is loud, everything is urgent. You're constantly pulled by noise, notifications, arguments, guilt trips, subtle manipulations. And every time you react without awareness, you give away a little bit of yourself, a little bit of peace, a little bit of sovereignty. So the Stoics offered a radical solution. Pause, don't react. Observe. Step back before stepping in. Instead of suppressing emotion, examine it, question it, ask yourself, is this anger useful? Is this reaction necessary? If not, let it pass. If yes, respond with intention. This is the essence of Stoic discipline. Not repression, not detachment from life, but detachment from compulsion. You stop being an emotional puppet and you start becoming your own master. Take Oprah Winfrey. Early in her career, she was underestimated, dismissed, even laughed at. She faced racism, sexism, and public scrutiny, but she didn't collapse. She didn't retaliate emotionally. She centered herself in purpose. She understood that chasing every critic would only delay her evolution, so she built inward discipline. She mastered her story, not by forcing others to believe it, but by embodying it with consistency. Her calm became her shield, her composure, her weapon. That's the paradox. People who try to control others usually can't control themselves. They react quickly, speak impulsively, and often regret later. But those who govern their responses gain quiet influence. Because composure stands out, stillness commands attention. In a room full of noise, the calm one holds the most gravity. That calmness isn't just a trait, it's a skill, and it's one most people never bother to develop. However, this path isn't glamorous, it's lonely at first. You'll feel misunderstood. You'll feel tempted to overexplain, to argue, to prove your point. But the Stoic way is to stand in that discomfort and let it shape you. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at his time, journaled not for applause, but for self-governance. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Not because he always felt strong, but because he knew strength. In your own life, this might look like saying no without explanation. It might look like smiling when someone is passive-aggressive, or pausing before responding to an emotional message. Not to manipulate, but to maintain your peace. Every time you act from your center instead of your wound, you regain ground. You become less reactive, more grounded. And in that groundedness, people begin to sense something they can't quite name, but deeply respect. And gradually something shifts. You no longer feel the need to argue with people who don't want to understand you. You stop trying to manage every perception. You start living from the inside out. That's real control, not because you dominate others, but because nothing outside of you dominates you anymore. So the next time someone tests your boundaries or tries to provoke you, remember, power isn't reacting. Power is choosing not to. The one who governs himself governs everything.
Number 5.
Calm costs you the crowd but gives you yourself. The deeper you go into Stoic calm, the more you start to lose people. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. Because many people in your life weren't attracted to your peace. They were drawn to your emotional instability, to your chaos, to your availability, to your need to explain, to fix, to chase. And the moment you begin practicing calm detachment, they will start to pull away. Not because you've become someone worse, but because you've stopped feeding the dynamic they depended on. The truth is, calm is a filter. It doesn't just protect your energy, it reveals who was only there for access. When you stop being emotionally hyperactive, you remove the fuel from other people's dysfunction. You become less useful to those who never wanted to understand you, only to use you. And while that loss might feel personal, it's actually structural. Your peace exposes their pattern, and they don't know how to relate to the new, calmer you. Seneca once said, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to the opinion of others, you will never be rich." That truth cuts deep, because if your peace depends on making others comfortable, you'll always be empty. But when you start aligning with inner clarity, even if it costs you people, you become wealthy in what truly matters: integrity, stillness, and self-respect. Think about someone like Keanu Reeves. He doesn't chase attention, he doesn't overshare, he speaks when it matters, and that's why people listen. He's kind, but not performative, present, but not invasive. He doesn't explain who he is, he simply lives it. That kind of calm is rare in a world addicted to noise. And because it's rare, it commands respect without needing to ask for it. Still, this is where most people struggle. We've been conditioned to think that if someone leaves, it must be our fault, that boundaries are cold, that walking away is cruel. But the Stoics would argue the opposite. If your peace disturbs someone, it's likely because their bond with you depended on your imbalance. And if they can't handle your clarity, they never truly supported your growth. Letting go doesn't mean you love less. It means you stop abandoning yourself for the illusion of love. It means you stop shrinking to make others feel tall. You stop leaking energy just to feel connected, and you start honoring your own boundaries, even if it makes you less accessible. That's not arrogance. It's wisdom in motion. In daily life, this means you stop rushing to respond to disrespect. You stop explaining your every move. You start saying no without guilt and walking away without conflict. These are not acts of defiance. They are acts of alignment, and they send a clear message. My peace is not up for negotiation. Eventually, calm becomes your default state. You no longer seek validation from chaos. You measure people not by how close they are, but by how peaceful you feel in their presence. You stop chasing the crowd, and you start attracting people who see your calm as strength, not a threat. So yes, calm may cost you the crowd, but it gives you something far more precious. It gives you back your time, your mind, your soul. And most importantly, it gives you yourself. And once you have yourself, you are no longer at the mercy of anyone else's approval. Number 6, detachment is strength in disguise. Most people confuse detachment with coldness. They think pulling back means giving up. They assume that if you don't respond with intensity, you must not care. But the Stoics taught something radically different. Detachment isn't about feeling less. It's about being ruled less. It's the art of caring without clinging, loving without losing yourself, feeling deeply without allowing those feelings to dictate your actions. True detachment is not the absence of emotion. It's the presence of mastery. Epictetus warned his students about the cost of being emotionally tangled with what they cannot control. If you want something good, he said, get it from yourself. That's the heart of Stoic detachment. It's not a lack of love, it's the refusal to make your peace conditional. Conditional on who stays, who apologizes, who understands, who agrees. When you are detached, you still love. But your dignity no longer depends on anyone else's behavior. You can walk away, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. This becomes especially important in a world addicted to validation. We're taught to define our worth by who texts back, who applauds us, who agrees with our boundaries. But that kind of dependence is emotional slavery. It makes your nervous system a hostage to other people's moods. Detachment breaks those chains. It says, I care, but I don't need to be needed. I love, but I will not abandon myself for love. Think about J.K. Rowling. At the height of her fame, she faced intense scrutiny, criticism from the press, from fans, from public figures. But she didn't crumble. She didn't waste energy explaining herself to everyone who demanded it. She stayed in her lane. She kept writing. That wasn't detachment from reality. It was detachment from distraction, from noise, from the illusion that peace comes from being liked. And that's what made her resilient. Another example is the actor Adam Driver, a man who avoids social media, keeps his private life private, and rarely entertains gossip, not because he's hiding, but because he's focused. He's emotionally detached from public expectation, and that clarity allows him to show up more fully in his work, in his presence, and in his art. This is detachment as power, not escape. But here's the truth most avoid. Detachment is not natural. It's not easy. It feels awkward at first. When you stop responding out of compulsion, people might call you distant. When you stop explaining every choice, they may call you cold. But that's the discomfort of liberation. That's what it feels like to step outside the emotional contracts that once defined you. In practice, this might mean you don't text back immediately just because you're anxious. You don't engage with every argument. You let silence do what words never could. You wait, you breathe, you choose. And by doing so, you reclaim control, not of others, but of yourself. Detachment doesn't make you numb. It makes you free. It sharpens your discernment. It allows you to see clearly where others only see crisis. You begin to respond, not react. You begin to observe, not absorb. You hold your center and let others spin if they must. So if you want to become emotionally invincible, cultivate detachment not from people, but from the need to be constantly affirmed by them. Let them misread you. Let them overthink. Let them go. You stay grounded because the person who cannot be pulled out of their peace is the one who commands every room they enter. Number 7, calm is the sharpest weapon. In a world where loudness is often mistaken for power, calm remains underrated. People equate yelling with leadership, aggression with dominance, and noise with strength. But the Stoics knew better. True power doesn't shout. It listens, it doesn't react. It observes, and when it acts, it does so with precision. Calm is not weakness. It's a form of clarity so sharp, it cuts through confusion like a blade. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger than the circumstances that aroused it?" That's the essence of calm. It's not the absence of emotion. It's the ability to master emotion so it doesn't master you. It's the decision to remain composed even when chaos invites you to lose yourself. And in a culture obsessed with reaction, the one who remains calm becomes the most powerful presence in the room. Calmness allows you to see what others miss. While people are busy reacting, defending, proving, the calm person is watching patterns, studying motives, listening for what's not being said, choosing the right response rather than firing the fastest one. And that delay, that stillness, it's not hesitation, it's calculation. The calm person is not frozen, they're focused. Stillness becomes their strategy, not because they lack answers, but because they have discipline. Consider someone like Fred Rogers, a soft-spoken man in a loud world. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't chase attention. Yet his calm presence shaped generations. Why? Because his calm wasn't performative. It was real. It was rooted in self-awareness, in compassion, in deep internal mastery. When you watched him speak, you felt it. A man fully in control of himself. That kind of calm doesn't just influence people, it transforms them. Nowhere does calm become more powerful than in conflict. When others escalate and you de-escalate. When someone attacks and you don't return fire, but instead you pause, you breathe, you look them in the eye and say nothing. That's when calm becomes lethal. Not in violence, but in precision. Because people who expect you to lose control or disarm when you don't. They expect drama, They meet silence. They want chaos. You give them stillness, and that stillness makes them confront their own noise. But calm isn't natural. It's a choice, a skill, a muscle you must train. It begins with emotional honesty and ends with restraint. It comes from knowing yourself so well that external noise can't penetrate your inner rhythm. It means choosing peace over performance. It means training your nervous system to stop reacting to every perceived threat. It means realizing that most battles are traps, and the smartest response is to walk away without losing yourself. In daily life, calm looks like not replying to that text right away, not raising your voice just because someone else did, not correcting every misunderstanding. It looks like listening longer, breathing deeper, speaking less. And when you do speak, your words cut through the fog because they are few and they are rooted in truth. Eventually, people notice. They can't provoke you. They can't manipulate your tempo. And that's when you become truly dangerous. Not because you attack, but because you don't need to. Your restraint becomes your weapon. Your silence becomes your shield. Your calm becomes your command. So don't underestimate it. In a reactive world, calm is revolutionary. It's the difference between temporary attention and lasting influence. The loud may win the moment, but the calm wins the room, wins the outcome, and most importantly, wins themselves. Because when you've mastered calm, you've already won the war within. Power isn't about controlling others. It's about mastering yourself. In a world that thrives on provocation, the ability to remain calm is revolutionary. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to react to prove your strength. What you need is stillness, clarity, and self-command. The Stoics taught us that silence can be sharper than words, and detachment can be more powerful than resistance. The one who holds their center commands more than the one who dominates the room. So if today's message resonated with you, if you're done being pulled by chaos and ready to return to your power, subscribe, reflect, and begin again. Because this isn't about impressing the world. It's about becoming someone the world can't shake. Thanks for being here. Your journey to unshakable peace has already begun.